Computers.
Our lives changed irreversibly when we inscribed rocks with arcane runes and taught them how to think, and not always for the better. But that's not what this video is about. How do we get these electric rock golems to comprehend audio? Hi, I'm Josh. I like sound. I'm going to tell you things about sound, and we are going to learn things about sound together. Sound is waves, and waves is math, and some people don't like that. So I'm going to try and keep the math as light as possible. You can learn more of the complex math stuff from other people who are way better at explaining it than I am. But I am going to touch on some abstract concepts, so just bear with me on a lot of that. Let's start off with an important concept. Continuity. Basically, if you look at a graph in math, and I'm not going to use any numbers or crazy definitions, so we're really just going to have to rely on the visuals here to get a lot of my point across. If you pick a point on the graph by going upwards from this line over here, and then you approach it from both sides, and it ends up meeting at that point, the graph is continuous. For more of an explanation, let's look at a graph which isn't continuous. I really hope the editor me has found graphs for both of these. Okay, thank God. Anyways, if we take a point on this graph and approach it from both sides, we find that it doesn't reach that same point. This graph is discontinuous because there is a jump between one part of the graph and the other part of the graph at that point. It could be at a bunch of points, but it's usually just at one or many points. Okay, that's enough of that. Now let's talk about the difference between
Analog and digital signals.
Analog signals work in a very similar way to a dimmer switch. When you turn the knob, the lights get brighter and darker by the amount and in the direction that you turn that knob, in a very smooth and continuous way. In fact, if we simulate a dimmer switch by playing with the brightness of this conveniently placed colored square, and then graph how that brightness changes as we oscillate between 2 points on that dimmer switch, we find we have made a sine wave.
It's always a sine wave.
Yep, just like waves in air and the electrical waves going through a cable, like this microphone's, dimmer switches can do the same thing if we regularly oscillate between 2 points on the switch. Oh, also, fun fact, analog waves are called that because they are representative of, or analogous to, some real-world value. In the case of an electrical wave in this microphone cable, again, the tallness of the wave...
Actually, that's called the amplitude.
That was weird. The tallness of the wave corresponds to how loud the sound is. The speed at which the wave oscillates...
Actually, that's called the frequency. Look, man, I don't think that you should be teaching us all of this if you're not going to be aware of the nomenclature. And wait, hold on. What do you...
Okay, where was I? Okay. The speed at which the wave oscillates corresponds to how high-pitched or how low-pitched the sound is, and where you are in the wave is called the phase. I think I hit him too hard. He's not breathing. What do I do? Digital signals work a little closer to a fan with different speed settings. You press a button on the fan, usually between 0 and 3, 0 and 4, whatever, and the fan will start spinning up to a predetermined speed based on which button you've pressed. There are no speeds between 1 and 2, for example. There are just speeds 1 and 2. Digital signals work on discrete values and numbers, like the fan. Alright, cool. Let's quick review. Here is an analog wave again. It's pretty, it's nice, it's got all the right curves in all the right places, and finally we get to take a look at a digital wave and... Huh? Well, that doesn't look like an analog wave at all. Like, not even close. Doesn't even look like a pixely version of it. What gives? While analog and digital signals in a wire are both electricity, these signals are not created equally. Digital signals need to be done in a way that computers like and understand, mostly because computers are incredibly xenophobic. So instead of giving the computer an exact picture of the analog wave that it's listening to, it instead listens to a series of ones and zeros that tells the computer about specific properties about the wave at specific times. And this wave ends up looking not at all like an analog wave at all. In fact, you could even call it
Discontinuous.
But wait,
I hear you say.
how does this even get into the computer in the first place?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I don't actually know if you asked, and I'm hoping that you asked because I am going to yap at you about it anyway. Behold. Wait, no, hold on, my caps lock isn't on.
Behold, the mighty ADC!
ADC stands for Analog to Digital Converter, and anything digital that you can put sound into has one of these. It has one job: to turn an analog electrical signal in this cable to a digital electrical signal in this cable over here. That's cool, that's great, that's a mess. It does this by taking pictures of the analog wave as it passes through it, and then turning bits of information about it, like its loudness, pitch, and how far along it is, into, well, bits of information that then get fed into a computer, which then does whatever it wants with it, really. If you want to turn these ones and zeros back into sound that you can hear, well, you can use something called a digital to analog converter, DAC, or what I'm going to refer to as a DAC. Basically, it does this whole process in reverse, where it turns information about the sound into the sound itself. Both ADCs and DACs can be found in any piece of technology that has to deal with sound in regards to a kind of computer. Like this, actually, this mixer over here. Although I will say that they are not always found together. In fact, let me grab something for you. This is a really old music player that I use on the regular because I'm weird. But this doesn't need to record sound. It only needs to output sound, which means it doesn't have an ADC chip in it. It only has a DAC. Anyway, here's a quick recap of what I was yammering on about, and to save us both some time, I'm going to read my notes like last time. Computers like ones and zeros. Normal sound waves are analog, i.e., not that. We must convert the analog waves from sound in real life to digital signals the computer can understand. This can be done with an ADC. The reverse can be done with a DAC. Alright, it's a pretty basic overview of how digital audio works, and a slightly more in-depth view of how analog audio works. I'll try and get some other videos out on some more of the nitty-gritty bits on it, like the Nyquist-Shannon theorem, bitrate, sample rate, bit depth, as well as why computers aren't really good with analog values in general. Otherwise, like and subscribe. Like and
subscribe, please.
This is my second time recording the video. I have to do it in one sitting, because otherwise I'm not going to get it done. But the last time I recorded on this, one of the write heads corrupted on the camcorder that I was using, and it just completely corrupted every single bit of footage that I took. So that was incredibly demoralizing, actually. But here's hoping that this time will be different.
Please